being able to use masking fluid is going to unlock your ability to create wonderful highlights in the work that you create. So today we're going to make this oyster and pink pearl. I hope you stick around to the end. Daniel Smith's Artist Masking Fluid brand, so I'm going to use it. And I just have an old brush. In the reference photo, you can see there's a highlight in the middle. So I've added a little bit of this to the brush, and I'm just going to go in and cover up the area. You can see it's a bit of a tan color. And you want to get a good coat. Make sure it's not too thin. And then the next step is you just have to let it dry fully. I'm also going to add a couple of the highlights that I want to retain over here on the side of the shell. So they don't have to be perfect, it's just a reflection. So I'm just going to go in and make some sort of organic shapes in here that will retain as well. I'm going to go ahead and dampen everything except my shell because the water will control where the pigment flows. And I'm just going to help it along here. And I want to add a lot of water up here because that's what's going to really activate that separation of the granulation of the Moonglow. And as you can see, we're already getting the nice separation, and if I allow it to kind of pour off, we're going to get even more of that, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I do want a little bit of water, so I'm just going to give the edge a nice head start so that when I put the colors down, we get the nice blend that we're looking for. Okay, so now go in with your sepia or whatever dark brown you're using and pick some areas that you see in the reference photo that are dark. And we're just laying the first layer of pigment, so we're not looking for photorealism. We're trying to get the nice blending, which we're getting here because of the addition of the water. And just wherever you might see some of the darks. It doesn't happen everywhere, so just pick some areas. And as always, follow the contour of the shell. You can see in my sketch, I gave myself a bit of a head start so I'd know which direction it's the outside is shaping, making it shape. So I'm just using that as a hint. I don't want a lot of it. It's so kind of bright and glowing. Might be better off with more of an ochre shade, but I'm going to use a really hot pink for the pearl, so I don't mind a little bit of balance. And I do want the inside of the shell to be made out of the Moonglow, so I'm not going to go too far in with this shadowing or shading. This is really just our underpainting. It'll give it a bit of a cool base and a head start on depth. So using my Payne's gray and very wet mixture because I want it to blend out, and I'll just build the shadow. And this is something we'll have to chase as we finish because it's going to dry lighter, and we'll see where we need more depth as we add detail to the shell. But again, it's a good start. So what I do is I go in really dark, and then just with clean water on my brush, I just help it along so that we get that nice diffused edge. And here I'm just trying to even it out a bit. And if your background has dried, do the same thing. Just water on your brush and then reintroduce it to the edge so that you get it to kind of blend and marry. Just carefully going around my circle, so take your time. And just aim for somewhat of an even coverage. It's okay if you leave a few spots because it's a liquidy or a moist environment in the shell. And so we are going to see a few of these reflections. And even though we've captured them here, I don't mind if a few other spots show up. Where we have the mask, we can confidently just go directly over it without worry because we're retaining. And you can see it's resisting that pigment, which is exactly what we're looking for. And on my sketch, I indicated where the shadow creeps up on the pearl. So I do like that, and I'm going to leave that as a bit of an underpainting here. And again, that's going to marry the shadow with the overpainting of our pearl. And here we're really just adding a few darks so that we can further define that texture. And you can decide how detailed you want it, how accurate to the photo. I think I might just use a few of these kind of wiggly shapes and then call it a day. And I'm going to shift over to my Payne's gray just for some variation in temperature. Cool as it kind of moves toward the shadow. I want it to feel a little bit cooler. So I'm going to do that same effect. I'm just going to do it with the gray. Okay, I think we're in good shape and we're dry enough now. So I've loaded up my brush and I'm going to keep in mind I want the shading to be at the bottom. So that's where I'm going to start with the edge. And just like we did the shadow, I'm going to do a hard line. But now I'm going to re-wet my brush with just water and I'm going to start to pull that pink up. And depending on how heavy you were with your pink, you may have enough to not even add more pink, or you may reinforce it. And so here again, we can go over this highlight with confidence, knowing that we've masked it off. There will be a couple areas like, looks like right here, there's a little bit of pink, which I'll add to the background, and then some more up here, which again, put water on your brush and then invite it to the party here. And just softly blend it out. And it doesn't have to match your reference photo exactly. No one's going to be comparing. We just want to say that portions of the pearl are reflecting on this juicy surface. And I also see that happening on the edge of the shadow. And I see that kind of comes up in here, goes over, and then hits the side of the reflection and occurs over here. And I've added just a little more of the pink. The highlight is actually glowing a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take clean water and I'm going to go ahead, kind of invite a bloom to happen. So I'm introducing a lot of water here and you're essentially lifting off a bunch. But what I want is to get a nice little diffused edge here. I'm just sort of glancing over to see where I need more. I can tell we need more in the shading area down here. So I'm going to carefully add a layer of my Payne's gray to catch the edges here. And then still with clean water, have it diffuse away. Pretty cool little tiny, tiny darkness on the edge. So I'm going to try to pick up some of those just in certain places. You want to make sure you're happy with your pearl before you remove the masking fluid because that's what's protecting those areas. I have this great little masking fluid pickup, which I like. You can use your fingers or even a kneaded eraser, but I do like this little masking pickup. So I'm going to go ahead and use it, and we'll just go in and remove our mask. If you see any ripping starting, immediately stop. It means you're not dry enough. We're fine over here. So I can go in pretty assertively and pick it up. And then what you'll notice is you may or may not like the look of that. So we may go in on top. A lot of times it's very high contrast. And sometimes it's too much. And I'll show you how you can blend it together. But as you can see, the masking fluid did its job, retained the white of the paper. So we didn't have to worry about that as we were painting. So now let's just do some subtle blending so that everything looks natural. And you can see the advantage of kind of lifting off some of the pink that was next to it because we do have that nice glowy effect. So I'm going to say that's pretty good. What I did want to show you is you can just introduce water to the edge or even a little bit of the pigment. And then that just sort of blends the two together to make a little bit of a softer edge. But over here, I'm not as thrilled with these white blobs in there. I want them to have a little more direction. And following the contours, I'm just going to pick up a few areas that I just want to kind of interrupt that. And I think that's going to feel more natural. And here's where you can sort of encourage that background to come into it. And again, it makes sort of a transition. So there's hardly any pigment on my brush. I'm just pushing the pigment that's on the background into the areas that I've slightly re-wet. So I'm excited for you to try masking fluid, and let me know in the comments how it went. Hope you enjoyed this oyster and pink pearl. Until the next time, happy painting.